Hello and welcome to the Uprising Show. And today I have a very special guest, Thiv Paramsody. Thiv, could you take a minute and introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Thank you for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here today. I'm Thiv, co-founder and CEO of Hera Fertility, where we're helping men treat their infertility at home instead of the awkward clinic visit. Before that, I've been doing startups. For now, I was counting it. I was like, man, it's past a decade now of working in this space, in digital health and in startups. But before Hera, I had another startup called Adracare. It was a telehealth practice management software sold to thousands of clinicians, mostly in Canada, and had an exit to Well Health. But my passion is really about how do we get technology in more of the healthcare system, and so that we can help more patients.
Wonderful. Thanks for coming, Thiv. And before we will cover the business next, but let's start
Yeah.
with your little bit your personal background. So let's go back in time and tell me about your upbringing, where you were born, where you were raised,
Mm.
and were you that entrepreneurial kid who had lemonade stands, or how did you get the entrepreneurship bug?
Yeah, I think about it all the time. Like, how did I get here? I was born and raised in Toronto. Both my parents immigrated from Sri Lanka, they were blue collar workers. Worked really hard. Made sure food was on the table for myself and three of my other siblings. I was a middle child. I think more so middle child has an impact, and I think more entrepreneurs are actually middle children. And maybe we're seeking attention. But as a kid, I didn't really have a lemonade stand, but I did do want to join businesses early on. Like I had a newspaper route. I was very committed. I kept expanding it. Made my dad do half of it half the time. Became a business that way. My little brother did it too. But really, what I was always observing and really fascinated about is these brands and these businesses and how they got bigger and bigger and how they communicate and sell a service and product. I think I was just always looking at these different solutions out there and looking at their history, and I just go down these rabbit holes. And so I was always fascinated about business, but originally I thought business is a bad thing. For profit is bad. And so I wanted to do more healthcare, hospital, maybe even become a clinician. And as I was going through that, I realized that no, business is actually very important in especially in healthcare. Without having these kind of companies out there, and these healthcare organizations and hospitals, you can't deliver life saving care. So yeah, that's kind of how I grew. I would say just one last thing is it was in until I went to university at Waterloo when I got the bug for e-health and digital health, but also like trying to build businesses and ideas and bring ideas to life. I think that's really more of it. It was like I had all these great ideas, and going from 0 to 1, like you have to create a business for those. So that's when I was like, oh, now I get it. You can't just have a good idea. It needs to be something that's sustainable, that can grow month over month, all those factors.
Very interesting. Being an immigrant and also my family is still in India, and
Mm.
I happen to be for last 10 years, just like more than 10 years now, Europe and then here. So I've been fortunate in that way. Um, my question to you is like, especially for you and your parents being immigrants, there
Mm.
is this kind of a safety net that immigrant parents have. You want to secure livelihood, their survival. So
Yeah.
how did you like? Was it like a mental exercise preparing your mind to like, let me take this leap of faith? What did you do, and how did it work for you?
Yeah, I think I'm lucky enough to have parents who weren't tiger parents, or tiger, those ones that they're now people call where they're like very strict and you have to become a doctor or engineer or whatever. As I've gone along, my parents are just like, just make sure you do a university degree, like get the education, because we didn't have that. And they were very supportive. Even in school, I struggled at one point, and my dad was like, "You got to figure it out. You know, a real man gets back up if they've fallen down." And so they were supportive, but yeah, they do bring up, why leave a comfortable job? And especially when they found out my salary in some of these places, they were like, why would you do that? Like, why go off to not pay yourself? Um, and so they do feel like sometimes they'll bring it up, like you should maybe think about getting more comfortable, or more of a secure job. But at the end of the day, I think they see why I'm so passionate about this. Also, how I've thought through it, like de-risked myself in general be able to do this. How I've had already some successes, so they see that, and they're like, let me trust this guy a little bit. So they've given me a bit of a leash, and then my siblings have been very supportive. Like they make sure that they explain to my parents why I'm doing this, and I think they're okay with that. I'm thankful that I have three other siblings, because then my parents go, at least three out of four are doing the safe stuff. And there's this one black sheep in the family. But I think that's what I really love. And yeah, both my parents, whenever I go to Toronto, they feed me well, and they're like making sure I'm eating right, and all that, and very supportive.
That's great. But I did hear one line what you said, which is pretty much, ethics where it comes. Especially, I've seen it in immigrant families, especially for when it's a boys, right? It's like you got
Yeah.
to be like, stand up and do this, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you
Yeah,
have to, and I think those core values are so important, and especially in running a healthcare business. Like, you have to have these good core values and ethics. Like, don't lie, treat your patients right, all those things, because that really, as a founder, your values kind of creep into the business.
yeah, absolutely, great. Um, so yeah, so what made you take the leap of faith into building your first company, and what was it?
Yeah. So after working at clinics for a bit, or at a government funded role in Toronto, I joined a startup first. And the reason why I joined was, like, I didn't have the business expertise yet. And I wanted to, I think that if I went and started my own business, my parents would have had a little bit of a heart attack. And so I think it was more of a, strategically, it made a lot of sense. And I liked the team and what they were doing. And they gave me a lot of responsibilities by starting their flagship product. And so that was a lot of fun. And I mainly joined because I felt like um, I had learned like 95% of what my current job had. I was there for a couple of years, and I wanted to bring about innovation. I had that energy. And so this was a great outlet for that. And then I wanted to learn about startups. So did that for a couple of years. Got it to about a couple thousand physicians using this solution. So I got to learn how to sell, got to learn how to build a product, everything, long hours, the pivots, all those things you have to do. It was a lot of fun. And that gave me a foundation to feel confident to go off and do my own business. So I went and launched my own software business, which was a telehealth practice management software, because I saw the trend that everyone was wanting more and more telehealth solution, but there wasn't the technology there yet to enable doctors to do that comfortably. So we launched that. Thankful, like it was surprising timing wise. COVID happened
Mm.
maybe 6 months later, and bam, like things exploded, and we ended up having like thousands of clinicians on there. Really stress test our system, but we were able to manage it. Got calls at midnight where systems were crashing, but we were able to figure it out. The classic startup life. And it was a lot of fun just doing that with really good people around me and friends, and we were able to go through the tough times and really come out and have a good success story.
And what happened to that company then
So
after?
we ended up I think about 3 4 years into it, we ended up realizing that it was a good opportunity to look at options, and we had a couple of companies come to us wanting to acquire us. So we went through that process, and we got acquired. We selected one, which and we got acquired by Well Health, which is a Canadian company out in Vancouver. Phenomenal company, really approaching healthcare in the right way in Canada, both healthcare services and digital health. So we felt like it was the perfect home for us. And it gave us an opportunity to really take Adracare to the next level, where they were able to plug into other parts of their business. And so it was really exciting seeing all of that. And just even getting acquired was a lot of fun, and just learning what it means. And then, yeah, like being a part of a great team at Well Health. I really enjoyed the year or so I was there.
What was your feeling the day it got acquired? It was like, this is how did you feel about it?
A little bit of relief, but because just seeing the stress it caused the CEO of our company at that time, just going through the diligence process, um, and just saying like, will it happen or won't? Because negotiations are tough. And so it was on New Year's Day, I think, or that officially got announced. So I loved it, because and I could be pretty frank. I think building a startup is very hard. There's ups and downs, things that happen, mistakes that are done, but good things that happen too. And so just reflecting on all of that, I felt like it was a great outcome. But at the end of the day, it's not like you go right off into the sunset. You get back to work,
Yeah.
and you figure out ways to integrate into the company so that this company continues. Right, I'm not a fan of like this one hit brand gets acquired, acquire type.
Yeah.
The Adracare, I think they still have most of the customers there, these enterprise clients, still using our platform. So that's a testament to how good the product is. And I think Well Health has done an excellent job there.
Great. This is I mean, all startups, I've been in startups for I don't know how many years now,
Mm,
but it's like always like from outside it looks, cool, but inside there is
yeah.
always chaos, right? It's like, and I know like even for the company, the Clara, which company that we came from Germany to here, we were actually OG in telehealth. So, right,
Mm.
we actually got sued in Europe because telehealth wasn't allowed back then in 14.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then we had no choice. It was like, all right, let's go to US. That's our market, and that's how we came to US. And then I remember it was so hard to sell because telehealth was still coming up, and
Yeah.
then to the level that we actually got rid of video calling or video
Wow.
telehealth and just
Yeah,
did messaging for a bit, and then brought
yeah.
it back later just before COVID because we had it, we just
People.
put back in, and then we did, and then it flew up really quickly
Yeah,
because
you
everything.
just hit the feature. You hit the
Yeah,
feature,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
someone was
exactly.
like, "Didn't we still have that like
And
capability?" And you turn it on.
that played a big role in acquisition of that company too, because that year the
Okay.
traction really, we were all set for like, we were already ahead of the curve in that
Yeah.
help. And that helped us too in getting acquired. So it's crazy
No,
that
no.
how timing.
Timing makes a huge difference, man. I think very similar story there. Like for us, in even selling into the U.S., like we tried so much as a Canadian company, but it's very difficult as a non-US company to sell into the US. And that's kind of why for Hera, I was like, I got to move to the US right away. Because that's the big market. But it's a similar story. It was like trying to navigate these waters where telehealth wasn't respected or allowed, and even in the areas where it was allowed, it was in Canada very regulated and given to like one or two people to do it, and which was like I hated that whole process where they didn't have an open process. They gave it to some buddies who ran a telehealth company and said only this platform is allowed,
Mm,
and so they were going about it the wrong way. And then COVID really made the people go crap, we need telehealth now. And so I think, to be honest, like before, what was it, March, we were definitely trying to figure out if this will survive or not,
Mm.
because we had these pilots, but like hundreds of people using it, and that's it, like maybe even 10 people. And it was so frustrating. But then when COVID happened, man, like one weekend, I think we added 2,000 clinicians from one enterprise client. It was like crazy. And so we just kept growing, because people needed something right away. And thankfully, like it sounds like you had these capabilities that we worked on earlier. So that's why sometimes, startups is luck.
Yeah.
Like having pure luck, like it's, you can have the best product, but it's timing and luck.
Yeah, it's funny how it works. But well, congratulations for that. That was good. So now to your current company. So what was the moment or insight that led to the creation of Hera Fertility? And also tell us a little bit about what specific problems does the company solve today, and how is
Yeah,
it different from existing solutions in the market?
for sure. So the inspiring moment, I should say, of for Hera, because like, look, at that point, I heard some rumblings from friends, but of like them trying to have kids, and I didn't really understand that whole journey yet. But what really inspired me was a co-founder of mine in my last company at Adracare, when we were exiting. We were just joking around, and I was like, "What are you going to do with the money there and the time that you have?" And he was just like, "I'm going to go have a kid. I'm going to go have to go through fertility treatments and go through this whole journey." And what really shocked me wasn't, not only was the bill so high for his treatment, but like he had spent years, it looked like now, going through that whole path, and really didn't have the support, didn't talk to many people about it. And that really, like, I just didn't understand why, like, that this was all happening for people, and there wasn't really good solutions out there. It was a very old school method, going to clinics, getting testing, them telling you commonly, keep trying, right? The worst thing
Yeah.
someone who's not successful in having a kid is like, keep trying is their answer. And so when I dug into it further and further, I learned that a lot of guys were now having these issues of fertility. And so the stat is now like 50% of the time there's a male factor contributing to infertility. So not only are there millions of people having infertility, but half of the reason why is because of the dude, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about why or what they could do to improve it or get it back to levels that are good for fertility. And that just shocked me. I'm like, there's got to be a better way right now, where more guys are feel like they're enabled to doing this. And so on this journey, I met my co-founder who was running an IVF clinic, and we got to see everything and test. And that's where Hera was born, where we have an at-home solution, where you can get the testing done, the semen analysis done at home, so that you don't have to go into the clinic, and it feels much more convenient. So we can drive up testing rates. But as well, and really valuable, is how we help you improve your fertility. So it's not just, hey, you have bad fertility or bad sperm health, but here's how you can get it back, get it up, or here's how you can improve it, and really spelling it out. And that's what's really exciting. And back into one of your points there, why we're different, we're not just doing testing here. We're really looking at how do we help people improve it through medications, supplements, coaching. Our program, 50% of the time, our program will help you improve your fertility. And I think, and that can be done at home. So men love it because they can just do it in the privacy of their home. And then the other big difference maker is we are not like the other D2C companies out there in digital health. A lot of people like to compare us to Hims or Roe, but our approach and how we get our patients is through clinics. We want to be a partner to the health system. We do not want to replace anything. So we partner with mostly OBGYNs and primary care docs, and they recommend our solution to their patients. because women make most of the decisions. We've discovered that that's better to go through that way. And it's been really helpful and successful because we're able to be a part of the whole journey, and help these clinicians, and help their patients.
I was going to ask, like, it's going to be really difficult if if just men have to come to you directly, because first of all, they don't go for these checkups. It's really pulled by women generally. And second, if they have to just find a separate provider or separate way of doing this, then it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like gets tough because you're not doing the female part on your own. So it's not. It will be really hard to, get people to come to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I think it's smart in that way that you are partnering with the OBGYNs, and then they're extending these services to this. So talk to me a little bit about these providers who are getting in your network. Are they just partnering as for like, do they become your platform's expert and do further coaching, and
Mm-hmm.
also maybe you don't have patients right now, but in the future, if you bring in patients to them, directly match to them, would they take? How would that work?
Mm. Yeah, all great points. And this is when I know I'm talking to a healthcare sales and marketing guy. That's because, like in healthcare, those nuances play a huge role, right? And can make a big difference, especially on the financials. So right now with the OBGYNs, they're more of a referral source, and we basically are part of their care team. So they pay. They recommend our solution to the female partner, who then purchases it and on behalf of the male. And we loop that OBGYN in by sending them back the information, of the test results, what we've interpreted, what's happening. But we do a lot of that heavy lifting because the OBGYN doesn't have the experience, so we can't bring them into the network to do the care.
Sure.
We have our own urologists that do that. So OBs love it because, look, they don't have the experience for the male side. They don't do the testing. They don't know how to interpret it. So we handle all of that. But as we grow, what we see a huge opportunity is, in that arrangement is like men's clinics, urology clinics, because there are use cases where, the men who may be taking ED medications, doing TRT, all these different things, where our services are going to be very valuable for them. And so there's an option where the provider who's referring could also be engaged in providing the services there, and we can be, a part of the whole journey. So we're looking at different care models at the end of the day, but at this stage, the best right now that we want to scale as much as the OBs and
Yeah.
be a value add to them, and because they're going to see this as, look, the men is being getting tested like the protocols say they need to be, if I'm going to help the women on their fertility side.
Got
And
it.
this is, and I want to be clear, this is before they go to a fertility clinic. We are trying to get before that whole journey because we know we can do more and we should do more before they go to a fertility clinic there.
Got it. So really, it's okay, this makes a lot of sense. I think the key here is you are trying to be the, proactive. Like, so you're educating the market of why you should do this, and you are right now acting as a lab test for
Yeah,
these things. And then, if needed, you can provide certain types of coaching programs and supplements to help you further with whatever is going. And this is outside of clinic. And then when you
yeah,
go fine. Then there is also a network of providers you have afterwards. Is that the right situation right now?
exactly. That's
Okay.
how, that's the best way to think about it.
Okay, great. So yeah, so it's very different from Hims, and these are supplement companies mostly, right? So I guess there are few ways to go from here. Like, nowadays a lot of business model that's really working is like, which also comes after the education phase. Once market is educated enough to look for such solutions, then platforms are turning into telemedicine, and then they connect providers. So they get the providers on board on their platform, and then they do
Mm-hmm.
further things also. So which is probably sort of you're doing through your coaching program, through your
Yeah,
urology. who's doing it. Maybe later you'll have more, and that will be the case. So we'll see. I guess that's how you scale, right?
Yeah.
So that
And those
that
are the important things to think through because for us, as we scale, we want this to be like we want hundreds, thousands of clinicians recommending us.
yeah,
But a big core focus to us is like, how do we get this so that it's reimbursable?
yeah,
And so, because like we don't want cash to be a blocker here. We want it to
right.
be these services are accessible. And a
Mhm.
lot of our pilot patients already had insurance and willing to use it.
So this right now, speaking of how you're getting paid, is this all out of pocket, or are you already credentialed with few insurance partners? Where you stand?
Right now, out of pocket, but we're going through the process to get credentialing.
Great. So I believe, yeah, it's US, so you'll probably start with New York and
Yeah,
get your insurance partners
and
there,
just
and then
work all the way.
yeah,
It's
this is where
crazy.
it gets interesting, guys, right? This is where it gets interesting. Like in US, you go with like 100 of providers, and then you payers on the other side. Then you get your
Yeah,
credential in each state, and that's how it works.
you
Um,
get the whole playbook, and I think with insurance, once we get that, and we get more, we'll be able to. It'll enable us to get more providers as well. But I laugh
right.
about it because in Canada, like growing up and in my other startups, like it's just one
One
insurance that
provider.
will
Yeah,
each region, right?
yeah,
So at most you're doing what 10, 11 at the end of the day. Whereas in Canada, I mean, the US, it's like uh, each state has their own and you
yeah,
have to deal with it. So we have a pretty strong plan on that.
yeah,
And thankfully my co-founder, has dealt with all these different types of insurance, plans and while she was running a clinic. So she knows how to negotiate the right rates, all of those. So I'm excited about that. But we felt very confident that we needed to get the clinicians referring to us first,
right.
and get those channels going.
Yeah, that's the hard part. So if you're already doing that, that's already great. So that's something
Exactly.
you're already doing, better than everybody else. So that's great. But yeah, it does change the business model afterwards, because then you become more of a NPI. You will have your own NPI as a clinic, and then
Yeah.
you have providers on 1099s, and that's how you will get insurance paying your reimbursements. That's how that will work. But it opens everything, because 95% of America is insurance based, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
So you have to take that route sooner or later. Okay, great. Now, speaking about your co-founder, you mentioned a couple of times. So who else is there in your team, and how did you meet your co-founder?
Hmm. Yeah, so we have a pretty strong team. I wanted to make sure especially on the clinical side, we had a really good diverse set. So we have urologists, reproductive urologists, fertility docs, OBGYNs, family docs, everyone in there. And then people who have done, not only like digital health apps, but at home solutions in the past in our team too, on the product and tech side. But a bit more on my co-founder. So my co-founder I got connected with when I originally was very interested in fertility and I wanted to meet more people. And a good friend of mine in New York was like, "Hey, I'll connect you with." He wasn't in fertility, but I was just chatting about this idea and how I'm thinking about fertility all the time now. And he's like, "Oh, let me connect you with my childhood, like my uncle, who was one of the first IVF directors in the U.S." And we connected. Great guy. Loved like he was great advisor, supported us from the beginning. And then he just honestly, I have to give him credit. He was just like, you have to come down to Missouri, come to my clinic, and you'll meet the clinic, the one who's running the clinic. And I just didn't
Mhm,
understand it. And I was like, why do I have to come to Missouri? But
mhm,
honestly, I loved it because I got to see everything at the clinic.
mhm.
So long story short, we met and we just clicked right off the bat. I think both of us have a bit of a chip on our shoulders, different like unorthodox past, let's say, of how we got here. She started when she was young, like 20, I think. And it just felt like we both understood how to address this and we were both passionate about fertility.
Mhm.
And there are times where we're always like, sometimes where there's patients where we know they can't afford it, like both of us are like, you know what, let's give a discount or give it free at this stage.
Mhm.
Like access and affordability is so important to us because you don't want money to be the blocker for someone having a kid. So I think having like similar values really played a role. And then, yeah, we just clicked. And since then, originally she was an advisor, support, all of that. And then it was quickly obvious that she was hooked on this, and she became full time, becoming a co-founder.
Great. And is she a clinical person on the clinical
No,
background
so
or?
she comes from she was like the administrative side, so more clinic
Oh, right.
management,
Yeah.
insurance negotiation, that piece.
Yeah.
So operations, she runs CEO, she's our COO.
Wow.
I felt like that was a missing, like this super critical for a digital health solution like ours,
Yeah.
because it can, if you don't have the right rates and
Yeah.
operations, it can break apart easily.
Yeah. Yeah. In healthcare business models, we all work for insurances. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
to
And
get
so she could ring off a CPT code in a second. She could tell you which ones need to be done for this, how much. So, and that's so important for us as we grow. But yeah, that's another reason why we have so many clinicians on our team who have built out a really really robust protocol.
got it. Wonderful. And how big is your team? Total headcount?
Yeah, we're at 10 full time, part time. And yeah, we're going to continue growing after we raise.
Great. All right. Cool. That's cool. Now, how are you acquiring your customers today? Like, what channels working? A little bit elaborate on
So,
strategies that worked and that did not work as well.
so yeah, that's a good question. We started D2C thinking we could easily acquire customers fast and show value. So like Google ads, Facebook ads, but that was crash and burn right off the bat because this is not, you cannot do the hymns and row approach here. Because this is such a sensitive and intimate moment in people's lives. Throwing an ad isn't going to work and make it's too transactional. So we moved to acquiring and partnering with as many clinics. So we get most of our patients through these clinics. And then the clinics, because of that value add that we provide, they love recommending Hera. And so most of our customers our patients come through that way. We do get some D2C if they land on our page, some of the digital marketing efforts, but primarily it's through these clinics.
Got it. And how are you meeting with these clinics? How are you getting in touch with them?
Yeah, a lot of it is using the playbook other digital health companies have done, and have established as that works. But honestly, like I've done this my entire career from the first startup to this selling to clinics. There's a recipe there. Number one, it's about relationships. No one is just going to recommend it because you have the best product or shiny object. You really need to develop relationships. And I think, especially in a space where women's health and fertility, there's been a lot of demand for it and a lot of new startups. I think clinicians have become skeptical of like the value and want to make sure that they're not bad players or people who are just coming in to make a quick buck because of the demand. So we've built out really strong and committed relationships with these people. And that's kind of what we do. We know how to get in there. It's not just lunches, but you know how to talk to them, and showing our value, showing why we're good at what we do, giving them case studies, but then also showing them consistently why we're valuable to their patients. So that's been the way that we approach it. Tactically, a lot of it is, cold calling, getting intros from other clinicians, getting referrals, concentrating in certain areas where we could try to grab and get as many of the OBG community that way. And then using as many different solutions out there to target the right kinds of clinicians. What's exciting now is that there's more and more of these great solutions to help us pinpoint which clinicians are the right people that we need to partner with.
Yeah, great. And you also going to conferences or
Yeah,
OBGYN?
conferences is a big thing. We have a lot of fun there, but there's always some great conferences. I will say that I've been going to conferences throughout my career, family like primary care, oncology, all of those. But like man, fertility and women's health is the best.
Mm.
It's not just like fun, great people, but like genuine people that really care about patient care. So we have booths. Conferences do help us get the word out, and make sure that we have a good reputation and good brand. So like, and it doesn't. It's helpful that my co-founder is the board chair for the Association of Reproductive Managers. So
Mm.
we're able to really get to know the right people.
Right. Okay. Great. I mean, in healthcare, without relationships, it doesn't move the needle. That's number one.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
so I always say, like, it's always in this order, right? Like, there is trust, then relationship, and then network, right? That's when you
yeah,
lean on them. So, so you have to follow this in healthcare very religiously to like get there.
yeah.
That's great. Okay, cool. So, it, like, what are your biggest challenges at the moment, especially being a co-founder and CEO?
The biggest challenges right now, or just in general that we've faced.
Right now, current challenges that you feel like you're thinking about that every day.
So right now we're fundraising, so that's all I think about every day. I think the market's picked back up, so I'm feeling much more confident that we'll be able to close that the 1.5 that we're looking to raise right now for pre-seed. But in general, I think for our patients, how do we build the best product out there that they feel they could turn to? I'm always
Mm.
just thinking about that, and it like my product brain goes into that mode. So from the actual collection of the semen to the transport, how do we protect it, how do we preserve it, like all the little details is what I think about all the time. And just
Yeah,
like, how do we make the best experience for people and not make it so transactional? Yeah, we have to make revenue here and grow, but I think at the core of it, I think a lot of digital health companies fall to this bad habit in the beginning, is try to get some quick wins and just generate revenue as fast as
mm,
quickly as possible, but not at the right way of doing it. So sometimes I have to like remind myself to be a little bit patient, that maybe we haven't got as many patients as we wanted to right off the bat, but we're getting the right types of patients.
yeah,
And so those are the things that I think about. So product, making sure we're getting the right types of patients, and just talking to them. Right, I love talking to customers and understanding them, what we could do to help, where they're at, because it's such a nuanced world that fertility is. It's not the same thing for each person. Someone could be coming to you
yeah,
because they have um, azoospermia. They've already learned that, and they want to know what they could do to improve it, is if it's possible or not. Or someone has been taking ED meds and worry that it might be impacting the fertility. Or someone who might be a female partner coming to you and saying, "How do I convince my partner my male partner to get this testing done and be engaged?" So you get different parts of the journey. So you have to really talk to as many people there. So yeah, a lot of it is just product, man. Why are we building the right product? And because I think
yeah,
that's going to help really build the right company.
yeah. Do you have any tech also part of your solution, or is
Yeah, so our own, we have our own at home test kit that we use. So that has you could do the collection at home, mail it back, protects it, and then we'll do the analysis at our lab. So we have that and the app. So our clinicians are able to review and through our app generate a treatment plan. And then
got
in the app, we have content that they can review to improve their fertility and get the medication delivered to their home.
got it. Okay, that makes sense. And you said you're fundraising, so I guess I want to touch a little bit upon your traction number. Where do you stand? If you could share something in terms of growth.
In terms of the traction of our okay, so we ran a pilot, and in total in that pilot we had seen about 125 patients, all with good success. That's where we were able to show the value of our product, and this prototype actually working and giving results and helping men improve their fertility. And then now we have over 100 clinicians who have partnered with us and are going to recommend Hera. So, and then we have patent spending and everything there. So we're growing in the right direction. So we have proof points from our pilot. We have the clinicians who are going to recommend. Now it's building out the inventory to fulfill these orders when we start hitting all the clinicians. And so we're raising right now 1.5. And the goal here is using that fund to reach 1 million annual revenue
Mhm.
and reach 3,000 patients.
Got it. Okay. And little futuristic view of the
Yeah.
company. I'm sure you think about all the time.
Yeah.
So, where do you see Hera Fertility in 5 years, and also like what's the
Long,
long term
long.
goal of the company?
I think in 5 years, every guy that has, every couple that says that they are planning to have a child will buy Hera. That's full stop. We are going to change the way people think about having a kid. And that is, it's not this reactive, and it hasn't been working, we keep trying approach to let's be proactive and check. And I think what will really unlock it is us showing how successful we are to improving fertility. And so I think in 5 years we'll be at a state where more and more like men are going to think that will be the first thing that people are going to buy and before becoming fathers. Um, and I think that's a good like for us that's the big vision here. But what really I think about a lot now is man with what we're doing here, not many people focus on sperm and sperm health, but sperm health is very reflective of overall health of a man. And I think there's a huge potential to not only help men with their fertility, but help them become healthier in general. And I think there's a huge unlock and opportunity there. So my big dream here is that we become not just about fertility, but a whole body health, and men become thinking about their preventative and proactiveness of their health because they're probably the ones who are always pushing off health. You know, you and I, like, when was the last time we had a physical health done or went to the doctor? And I see a huge opportunity for us to really unlock it in this creative and innovative way.
Yeah, makes sense. I remember like I'm the one same way not going to the doctor. My wife sent me last year, and when I went to my doctor, his first talk was like, generally all men come. It's through their wife pushing them to doing it, and they generally come at these markers when they're like turning 30, when they're turning 40, and then they're turning 50. That's when they come. And then
Exactly.
he gave me a whole lecture of like, all right, it's all downhill from here. So keep
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna have to keep coming, keep. But it's funny. Even my dad, he's like turning 70, and he reluctantly goes to his doctor a lot of times, and it's only when he's sick. I find that whereas my mom is like trying to be proactive, it's like the perfect example of the gender disparity there in behavior. But I think we need to change. I think there's more and more innovation coming out. I think what's really going to unlock it is making it easier for guys to do it. And that's kind of at the core of Hera. Like we make it so that something that's so important for them to do at this fertility journey and this part of their life, they could do at home. So they have no excuses around it. And we make it so that like even like talking to doctors, the medications, everything, it's all delivered to their home. So I think there's going to be no excuses for us to now be healthier.
And have you thought about more aligning to this vision, right? Like, so would you think like payers would be a better partner to just promote it as a preventative care part of that? Because at the end of the day, if this happens or starts happening very, very upfront, then it solves or saves a lot of money to the health system and the payers. So do you see that kind of like trying to figure it out some sort of partnerships with
Mm-hmm.
payers and then they promote it to their members, something like that?
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's very much influencing our insurance strategy and overall business. And I like to look at it this way: in within fertility itself, if you're able to help someone with the men on their sperm health, you give them a better chance of naturally conceiving, and therefore payers not having to go to IVF and spending, having to pay for IVF treatment. So that's like, I think there is an approach where, to your point, like you're saying, how can we save payers money by helping patients be healthier? So I think if we could show that with fertility first,
Mhm.
and why, getting 3,000 patients and getting good sample of and showing how effective we are is going to be key for us to then go to payers and have a better relationship. And then from there, fertility is just the first of many ways that we can help payers.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. All right. Good. This is good. I like to conclude the show by a little different type of question, a fun question.
Sure.
So let's go into that. So um, the question is, tell us about a personal thing that you would like to, you haven't told anyone in your personal circles. Nobody knows about it,
Mm-hmm.
and this is your opportunity to tell them. It could be anything that you feel is appropriate, and yeah, this is your shot. Tell us about it.
Like operations, you're talking about like within the company, something
No, no,
where
no.
there's
It could
an
be your personal thing. It could be your personal hobby.
oh
Anything
oh
you
yeah,
like.
yeah, gotcha. Man, my company has become me now, so I'm trying to think right here. Something that is me, a hobby or something. Yeah, I think the best is anyone who knows me really well knows how much I love to go into thrift shops. It was a problem years ago when my dad would be like, "Is this guy just buying clothes from thrift store because he can't afford it?" And just didn't understand. And then over time, I've become like, I know every shop in an area in a city. If I'm traveling, I go to thrift shops for fun. And I have a wide range of jean jackets and bomber jackets. So I've got a pretty serious collection to the point where like my dream would be, let's say Hera goes off and someone buys it and I'm chilling. I would open up a thrift store
Wow.
somewhere and have these kind of items. I love the idea of getting a good finding something awesome that no one else has. So yeah, that's something that's unique about me.
Wow, that's very interesting. Um, all right, cool. So thanks for sharing. Where can people find you if they want to hit you up?
Yeah, best place is LinkedIn. So you can add me. I'm always happy to chat. I'm also on Twitter. I'm trying to not go on Instagram anymore, so that's why I'm going on Twitter, and maybe that'll be a better outlet. So I focus on the Rays. But yeah, LinkedIn, or you could just email me at thiv, at herafertility.co. Always happy to chat about startups, my experience, how I can help. But especially, I'll email you right away if it's something to do with fertility. There are more and more people who reach out to me who I haven't even talked to in years about fertility because they're going through it. And I'm always happy to help any way I can, through my connections, through even our test kits, whatever it is. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions there.
All right, great. Thank you, Steve, for your information. It's been great. We really appreciate having you on the show. And the website, again, it's herafertility.co. And you know where to find Thiv. Thank you. Appreciate your time here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was awesome.